Namaste and welcome to Happy Jack Yoga Podcast. My name is Happy Jack, live from Harvard Innovation Labs here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I'm here with the one and only
Happy Hannah from the Happy Jack Yoga Innovation Labs in Bracebridge, Ontario, Canada.
Nice. We got some innovations happening in Muskoka. I love it. Yes, it's time. It's that time of year. It's that time of the season to bring more innovation as this chapter comes to a close. Would you believe tomorrow is my last ever day of classes at Harvard University?
Aw,
Tomorrow.
how does that feel? Is it nostalgic?
It is. If you want to jump right into it, in one way, I mean, it's only good. It's only celebratory, only good things to look forward to. And you'll understand this, Hannah. I can't rationally understand it yet because it's only good things to look forward to. And I'm so happy and I'm so grateful and feel so blessed and all good. And yet somehow there is like a sadness. And I think it is something to do with like grieving the end of an era, but it doesn't make rational sense to me because like nothing, my health is good, my family is good, like everything is taken care of. There's nothing wrong. Why is there sadness? But we were talking about it yesterday in our leading music and ritual class. It's really beautiful. Really, we just come together and sing songs and have a sharing circle. Like we start every class by going around and with a check-in. And others who are in the same position as me, graduating this year, we're also sharing, this sadness. And even though like this one girl, she got a job as a chaplain down in North Carolina, it's like an amazing career opportunity. And she's also sitting there right beside me, Kaylee, sharing her sadness. And I don't get it. And so help me, help us.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, this is like exactly what I live all the time. And the first thing I would say is like two things can be true at the same time. You can be sad and happy at the same time. You can grieve and look forward to things at the same time. It is part of, the complexity and the duality of life, the layers of things that we navigate. And that's why it's okay too, because both things are, I would say, like at the core of the human experience. Everybody is going to have transitions. Transition means you know, and grief means, let's start there. Grief means that you had a great time. You really appreciated this chapter of your life. And it's a way to kind of show almost like a reverence or a respect for the transformation that you've had and the gifts that you've received in these 3 years. And and it's okay to have a layer of nostalgia on that. And one thing that, in the grief work that I'm doing, I loved how there's this Danish grief theory that says that grief is always relevant because it doesn't never end. Like you're always going to think back with nostalgia your time at Harvard, and it's going to keep teaching you things about yourself. Even if the period is over, you're going to keep looking back the rest of your life. You're going to, maybe something that somebody said, your professors, or some insights you had when you went for a walk, it's still going to impact you even if you're not in that time anymore. So grief doesn't have an end, just like love doesn't have an end. It transforms, right? And it changes. And so that's how I would think of it, that it's sometimes people say, like on a recent call in Happy Jack, I think it was our sharing circle on Sunday, someone said that grief is like love that has nowhere to go, because in that context it was about a person. But now, like, let your grief have a place to be inside your heart, in your awareness, in your, experience. And it will show you, it will keep showing you beautiful things. And that's kind of the good side of grief. The purpose of it really is that it informs what we love and how we have and are changing, how we are transforming, how we are transitioning, right?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I guess I'm not used to I'm not used to this feeling. Like where my zone of flow, where I thrive is when there's like a clear purpose, a clear vision, and collaboratively working towards it. Um, and I'm happy to put in, all my effort, all of my energy into it. But yeah, there is something about the ending, and Sarah and George said, the sadness of maybe not seeing some of the people every day, and I mean that there's probably so many different elements of it. And I shared in the sharing circle yesterday with our little music class, that because some of the students were sharing like kind of a sadness and others were sharing like just immense gratitude, and I'm sitting here being like, I totally resonate with both. Like in the one sense, I'm with you, Craig. I feel like so much gratitude and so much blessings, and it's just amazing, and what a gift, and I recognize that. But I'm also sitting here feeling like this sadness, which I didn't understand, but you're helping put understanding to it. And I feel like what I need, and I said this to the group, like I can't wait to go out into the nature and just be, I've got other exciting things ahead, but at some point going out into the nature, being by myself and just like surrendering and having a good cry, even though I've got nothing to cry about. It's like I can't think of anything to cry about, but I just want to like cathartic, like release, cry, surrender, let go. Maybe like let go of needing to hold up, like I'm just like holding up so much, so many different balls with homework and happy jack yoga and different responsibilities and friendships and family, and but just being able to let go. And I feel like from that period, say if I can carve out a week, whenever that is in the next month or two, that's gonna, I feel like after that week, so much clarity will come and so much inspiration and drive that it's almost like it would serve me to get that ASAP, because I know it's going to be so good after. And then, versus now it's a little bit forced. Like I have to use a lot of effort because truthfully, I'm tired. I'm tired, even though, I'm doing the things, going to bed, getting enough sleep, eating the right nutrition, etc. But there's beyond it, I'm recognizing even beyond the daily rituals of sleep and hydration and nutrition and daily and practices and all of that, there's this idea of like having one day per week off and one weekend per month or 1 week per year, and of course it could be even a lot more than that, but at least every so often, like consistent downtime. And that's something I'm good at, like, anyways, you know where I'm going. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like there's a lot of um, built up energy in and around you. You've worked really hard. You've held up the sky for everyone at the Bhakti Yoga conference. And then your final papers and exams and responsibilities, you know that there's a big shift coming, which is, the end of an era that's been an important, informative era. Like there's so many elements of just energy that has built up in and around you. And it's natural that you would feel tired. And when it comes to the future and you describing the time to like needing to take some time off, I hear that as, wanting to make space for something new. Because now your life is so full, like you are describing, and that's beautiful. But for the next chapter to kind of get to a creative place again, I think that we need to make room for new things to appear. And that would be taking time off and not having to hold up the sky and not having to come up with solutions while you're still completing this kind of chapter, it's there's anticipation too, like your graduation. It's going to be, I think, a powerful kind of ritual.
Hmm.
We might want to honor that and let you have that experience, and then when time is right, you can let go of um, these responsibilities and make space inside yourself to kind of clear your space a little bit, so that there's that you feel again that you you have more to give. Like right now you're giving everything. you know
Yeah. Yeah, no, that actually really resonates. This idea, because life is so full now, and it's full of all these really good things. And now I'm anticipating that life's going to become empty soon. I mean, empty of so much responsibility, which is good. And so, from this place of like stretched thin and being full, I'm trying to decide what's next, what to fill it up with next. And all of these ideas are really exciting and good, but I don't feel like in the right space to make those decisions, because I'm just, it's almost like reactive. It's like, I've got to pick something. I've got to decide. And so I like that idea of like, by emptying out, by slowing down, by decompressing, it's like anytime I take a yoga nidra, I often listen to your 10-minute, 50-minute yoga nidra, Hanna. And even just that, my heart rate, like it in 15 minutes, it slows right down. And even if I don't fall asleep, which often I do, but even if I don't, I feel reset. And that's 15 minutes, right? And I know the importance of that throughout the day. And I'm just like thinking, it was 5 years ago, 2020, during the pandemic, we did our 7-day week-long sabbatical. And that brought like the most immense clarity that I've had in a decade or more. And so I think it's time, 2025, summer of 2025. It's time for the reset.
yeah, I love that.
And as you say, and to not rush on and to honor the different steps, like graduation is coming up. It's 1 month from today, May the 29th. And my parents are coming down. My sister and her whole family are coming down. I've got family here in Boston. I've got an aunt who lives in Boston who's going to be coming. And so just to have this group, family come together for graduation is going to be special, and to honor that. And I was talking to my dad the other day on the phone as we're planning some of this stuff. And I think Hanna, you must have told him about your experience here in Boston with Aaron. It seems like maybe because he seemed to know a few things, like about the grand finale event, and then he was asking me, and I was telling him about it. He hasn't figured out how to simply just go on YouTube and watch it, and I'm not sending him there. But anyways, I could hear him after I was sharing about it. He was all choked up, and he said, "I'm really proud of you, Jack."
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I know he always is, but parents don't always say it as often. They just they feel it. But it was special, as I was sitting in an airport, tired, and to hear that was really nice.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And yeah, maybe I did mention that, but also your aunt could have shared something with him.
True. Yeah. It could very well be. Yeah. So let's see. Stay tuned. And at the same time, even as classes are winding up, I'm still taking opportunities to be with great people. And so this past weekend, I altered plans. So for the last year, I've had this plan to go to Washington, D.C. this past weekend, because there's a conference, it's a Bhakti yoga and Christian dialogue, the two traditions in dialogue, which would be, very interesting and important. And I was also planning to spend time with my old friend Henry and our dear friend Mars, our great spiritual mentor and dear friend of ours. And as I arrived, I got there a couple days before to spend time with friends. And as I was there, I just felt in my heart I don't need, it's not going to serve me to go to another academic dialogue right now. As great as that will be, and there's good people there, I felt like spending the time with Mars would be more nourishing. And so that's what I did. I skipped. I messaged the conference and said, listen, and it is true. I said, Happy Jack Yoga needs my focus and my full attention right now. It needs my heart and soul. And I apologize for the short notice, but I won't be attending the conference. I didn't tell them I'm hanging out with my friend Mars, but that's what Happy Jack Yoga needed, was to be with good people and to be in heartfelt, open, vulnerable conversations. And it was the right decision. I'm
Mm,
happy I went.
I love that. I love that you honored the need um, that you had in your heart, because you have been working so hard. If you were to describe your time with Mars, what would be like, how would you describe it? What was it like? What did you learn about yourself in those conversations?
Mm. I learned about my deepest fears and my deepest insecurities and how they inform my perspective on life.
Wow.
Yeah, like I didn't expect it. We spent, I mean, the guy is 83 years old. I can't even keep up with him. We went for like, he walks 20,000 steps. I mean, I can keep up with him, but most people couldn't, like, he's fast. Going up hills, he walks 20,000 steps a day. So we went for a whole bunch of walks just out in the nature, enjoyed some nice meals together. I spent some great time with his wife as well. And, but yeah, it was just a space where it's just nice to have friendships like that and people in our lives like we have here with this community, where we can just reveal our insecurities and our uncertainties and not have to show up having all of our having it all together, having it together and being able to present, hey, here's my amazing plan. Even though, at some point in a month or in half a year, there is going to be an amazing crystal clear plan, but not having to show up with that every time. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this community. Sometimes, some weeks we show up full of light, love, inspiration, so much to give and share. And then sometimes we can show up uh, a little bit uncertain, and just being able to be in that dialogue.
Yeah, and that is very vulnerable and kind of scary to show ourselves when we're not thriving. It's easy to show up when we are thriving because then we're on a good place and we have lots of ideas and we're happy to share. But when we're feeling a little bit raw, a little bit vulnerable, a little bit uncertain, that's when it's more difficult to be authentic and to show that to other people because we kind of subconsciously, I think we feel like we could be rejected if we're not contributing in a certain way. So the fear of rejection and of being judged maybe could be that it's harder to show up in the moments of struggle or uncertainty. Because I know you love certainty. So it's very like unfamiliar territory for you, maybe to share that with people that you really care about. Because then I know Mars would never reject you, nobody would, but it internally might feel a bit threatening. So
Mhm.
I feel like for me it's more valuable, and not that I have an agenda. You show up the way you need to. It's not like you have to show up in any particular way for me, but I think that that is in a way like that's where growth happens, right? That's where shift happens when we dare to look at both. Like you were saying, like, oh, I am grieving and I'm excited. How can that be? In the same way, in community, I am struggling and I am powerful. Even if we struggle, doesn't mean we're a victim or that we don't have our shit together or whatever we might kind of fear inside. So you mentioned that during this time with Mars and Henry, you had your kind of greatest fears come up. is this what you mean by it? Or was it something that was asked or something that happened that you could say, like, hey, this happened and I was thinking in my bed at night about this, that, or the other? Or is this
Mhm.
what you mean? Like, I was in a vulnerable space and that's vulnerable. Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, yeah. And first, I just want to say, with regards to like, so for me, there's this kind of dialogue that seems to always be in my head of like, what will people think of me? Like, and that's how the people pleaser shows up, and this worry of, and of course it's gotten so much better, through all of this work, this personal growth and yoga and spirituality. But even just me, I met with my therapist last week while I was in DC, Dunya, and we meet like about twice a month, and I'd say we've had like I think 24 sessions now. That that's work it out how long that is. I got them all recorded, and 90% of the time, 90+% of the time, I'm like super high vibe and excited, and it's like an inspiring dialogue, and it's still very meaningful and helps me move forward. And just a handful of times, maybe 3 times, and this past week was one of them, where I showed up and was just able to, I I don't have all my stuff together right now, and I'm in this kind of place of a little bit depletion, and I even wonder, and obviously you can confirm, Hannah, this is never the case, but I even wonder, like, I wonder, does my therapist think I'm like crazy? Does she think I'm messed up? It's like, because most people don't show up this way in life. Even most people kind of show up, hey, everything is good, life is good, and I actually, I don't, like, rationally, I know that's not the case, but the conditioning in me is to worry. What is my therapist thinking? She must think, oh man, he's a little off the flow this week. But I guess the therapist is not thinking that, because they probably have ups and downs as well. I'm assuming, is that the case, Hanna?
Um, Absolutely. And what's interesting is that your model of the world has, like, no wonder it's hard to be you if you're demanding to always be in one certain way, because that's not how life is.
Mm.
Like when I say, for example, grief is a central existential human experience that everybody will have multiple times in their lives, that could sound like bad news. But it's not. It's part of life. It's part of life to not be always thriving. So your
Mhm.
therapist is thinking, oh, he's having a human experience. Oh, he's being a human being.
Mm.
Like, what's interesting in this conversation is, what in you is it that feels that you have to always show up in a certain way? Or that,
Mhm.
what is the expectation, is, if there is one, I don't know, where you would want life only to be in one certain way. The fear of being judged, why is that there? And what is it that prompted it? Why is it
Mm.
that you are not allowed to have a complex full human experience? It must be quite exhausting to try to manipulate the universe to only be in a certain way.
Oh, it's de- it's deathly exhausting.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. No, yeah, no, I'm sure I can't give you the answer, or, what happened in my childhood that might have brought it up. I've tried this and for decades trying to figure out what that might have been, and nothing ever comes to mind or my heart. Um, but it is like a real thing, and it probably what came up during the conference, like the grand finale, when I didn't show up in a certain high vibe way that I felt I would have wanted to. And yeah, I mean, it's all the teachings of the yoga attachment of things to be a certain way, all the time, and it's just not possible. In fact, one of the things we talked about with Mars is the word that was kind of like almost like a theme was inevitable. Like some things are inevitable, and I guess that doesn't say much, but like in the if we think about after really things being really good, it's inevitable that challenges come. It's like there's just so many things in life are inevitable, and if we can surrender to this idea that and or if things are really good and we're really high vibe, it's inevitable at some point we're going to have a low day, we're going to have an off day, we're going to have a challenging day. And the good thing is what's inevitable is that the next day can be back to amazing again. Of course, the idea of the yoga teachings eventually is to cultivate this samatvam, this evenness, equanimity, so that we don't, we're not out seeking high levels of pleasure, and we're not getting pulled down too much by lower things, but just being able to be kind of even keeled in any circumstance.
Yeah, and maybe we could call it being groundedness, like whatever comes my way, I can stay in my, like I can feel safe in meeting the challenges of life, knowing that whatever comes my way, I can handle it. And there's people who support me. And maybe that's also a healthy self-esteem, knowing that, well, that person might think whatever they think, but it's not my business what they think. I do not know. I might have an imprint inside of my brain who's assuming that they are thinking negative things, but I know who I am. And I know that it's okay. They can think what they want, and I'm still being in my place of equanimity and able to make good decisions and contribute to the world in meaningful ways, even if everybody might not agree. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. And I guess this is the practice. And it's just, I guess for me, it's, being real and being authentic and being vulnerable. I'm okay with that. But I guess I don't particularly like being in a low vibe state. I don't like being in a depressed state.
Of course.
I'm sure everybody in the world can agree with that. But I'm also, this is a privilege perhaps. I'm also not used to it. It's not like a common thing. And of course, there's some people that have chronic depression or, whatever, like diagnosed depression or whatever that looks like exactly. And for me, I'm thankful that a lot of the time I'm not in that space. And so when I do get caught in it for short periods, it's like I don't want to be here.
Yeah, that's totally understandable.
Yeah.
And if we can kind of endure it and be in it, allow for that to happen, I'll tell
Mm-hmm.
you, after my 18 years of widowhood, I've had many periods of really severe depression. I've been able to function, and I've never been on medication. So I guess that's a privilege too, that I was able to still function. But I'm just sharing that so that as an example, that in those times I learned that when life got intense like that, I was imagining or visualizing myself like a seed that's being planted into the darkness, horrible, cold, humid earth. But that I was also simultaneously, I know that the sun is outside there in the space, and one day I will be back to seeing the light again. And when I emerge, I will have some gifts to bring. I will have a new insights. Like it sounds like a little bit dramatic, but in those episodes is when we learn a lot of things, and we do not know in the moment, in the uncomfortableness of low vibes, we don't know what is being planted into us. And this you get to discover if you're wise enough, if you reflect on it later, what that period taught you. Kind of like I was saying about grief, like it's something that keeps, you might think back to let's say in 5 years, you'll think back to this beautiful spring day 2 years ago when you walked on Harvard campus and you had this, that, or the other insight. You might be able to connect to that years from now and receive some wisdom and insights. Maybe you want to write a book about it, God knows what, or just even just reflect on it. Not that everything has to turn into a book or a product, or, but it might be an enriching moment many years from now. In the same way, our difficult moments, they kind of like, imagine like they pulsate, they birth us. That's how our personalities evolve when we go through experiences and we learn from them. And of course, we don't only learn from like negative things or depression or challenges. Sometimes I've said to the universe, like, when you go to India and you have a spiritual experience, it changes you permanently.
Mm.
It does. It stays in your system, in your heart forever. So it's not to say like, oh, life is a school and we're just going to suck it up and go through all these lessons. I don't think that. I think that that life is dynamic, and that our opportunities lie in staying humble and willing to learn from the things. Otherwise, what's the purpose, right? And that is big part of us honoring the things we go through and honoring how hard it is to be a human being, how challenging it is. It's not only high vibes,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is, and we're grateful for it, but it's also, kind of like our children. Like if we wanted our children never to have an issue, what kind of personalities would they develop?
Mm-hmm.
We have to have the full human experience. That's what awakening is. It's not just staying on the high vibe train.
Mm-hmm.
The full human experience means integrating what happens to me, being able to stay grounded, samatvam, through all of it and receive it and be fully engaged in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I catch that's a great distinction. And yet whenever I catch myself or find myself in a low vibe state or a suffering state, I do what I can to bring myself back up. I think that's natural and normal, and and I do it in healthy ways. Like for like even just some of the conversations we had with Mars, it's like recognizing like when we really just like looked around, we're just standing in the nature, and like the rivers flowing and the leaves and the sun, and standing there with a dear friend, and it's like we're so blessed. Like we're fully taken care of, whether you believe in God or what the universe or whatever it happens to be. It's like in that moment we recognize we're taken care of. We have everything we need. Is life perfect? Heck no. Is there, I mean, are there still needs that we can think of course, but really when it comes down to like our survival, and have we ever not been able to take care of some of these basic things, and so in that sense like there's so much to be grateful for and to recognize the gifts and the blessings. And so I guess I'm just working on kind of closing that gap. I want to, truthfully, I want to get out of this discomfort.
Yeah.
Like I want to get out of this space whenever I'm in this space, which is
Yeah.
periodically, all the time. It's not just as school is ending. It's my whole life. I think it's common for many of us at different stages. There's this desire to want to get out of it as quick as possible. And here I am. Like I know you want to say something. Here I am, though. I mean, this is truly pretty minor, because like everything is okay. Everything in every aspect of my life's okay. Now put that compared to, for example, Hannah, you just said, like when you unexpectedly lost your husband 18 years ago, like that rocks your world for the rest of your life. And so there's like different scales of it. And
Yeah. And I think we should kind of look to minimize suffering in general. I think that's a healthy principle. Um, Compare it to giving birth. When a human being or animal, I suppose, but I've had a human experience. So when I gave birth to my babies, it was painful. It's a very painful process that takes months to build up to the moment where the baby is born. And I've had one C-section and one kind of normal transitioning other way out baby. So I feel like I can speak from both aspects. When you give birth to a baby, it's explodes your world, and you almost I almost felt like I died in that experience, because you touch, like, it's so out of your control, and it's kind of dangerous. It feels a bit dangerous because you don't know if things are going to go well. There's a, and there is a process of death. Remember how one of the speakers in the Bhakti conference talked about like mini deaths? There's a part of us that needs to die to be reborn again. So when a baby is born, a mother is born. And the teenager in me, or the young adult in me, kind of died. Like, yes, there's a part of me that's always going to be a young adult, even in this moment. But there is, there is a transformation that happens that has a cost.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part of you that is probably now dying, and something new is going to be birthed. And I'll tell you, the reason I'm bringing up the example of giving birth, it's painful. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't help the mothers to have the most safe and least painful birthing experience, and the baby. Like, we'll do everything we can in our power to minimize the process. And there's lots of things like breathing techniques and medication that you can do, or birth in a water tank, or whatever people do to make it better. In the same way, when we're struggling or rebirthing, maybe it's not comfortable, and we shouldn't say like, oh, suck it up, or just, accept it and keep suffering. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's part of it. And one other thing that is interesting here, like thinking about happiness, when you're standing in nature, or when you're sitting here on this podcast call, this is the maximum of happiness that you'll ever have access to, is right now, right here. If it's not true now, how can it be true when all of your dreams come true and your accomplishments are, and when you're in high vibes? It is true that right here and right now, we're taken care of. We have this breath. We have each other. We can look each other in the eyes. We can make decisions. We can pray. We can evolve. This is the peak of our happiness. Because if it's not true now, how is it going to be true in the future? Like, if our internal conversation is always going to be there, then it's going to ruin us also in the peak moments that we're kind of working towards. So it might as well be wise right now to say, okay, there's a part of me that always doubts my sense of safety, if that was the case. There's a part of me that is worried about what other people think, or would like to have this period of suffering end. And though simultaneously, here's my peak level of happiness right here. And it's an inner energetic experience. It's my breath. It's my knowing that I'm safe right now already. Just like they say, fear has already, what you fear has already happened. It's a fact. So then you can let go of it. When Jens, my husband, hadn't died yet, I was hysterical about not leaving him all the time. He would have to go to business trips and bring me and the kids with him. It's like a part of me knew that things were not going to go well. We were in a hurry to be together every second. I would not go to yoga in the evening. I would never throw away 2 hours. I know it sounds crazy, but that's how we were. We were so close and so tight knit, and we were so happy that we didn't want to have it any other way. So in a way, then when he died, I obviously did not expect it. And the more unexpected a death is, the more traumatic it is. That means the more devastating it is. Not to say that other deaths aren't, but that's kind of what research shows. And so what I was fearing, it's almost like I had a hunch that something could happen. And in the same way, our happiness, if we can't access it now from right here, then how are we going to access it in the future? So also our happiness has already happened. Our peak life experience, our purpose is already operating. It's not in the future, because if everything's going to get better later,
Mm.
then how does that make any philosophical? That's why all of these traditions like Buddhism, they're not afraid to admit there's a lot of suffering in being a human being, and the awareness, the present moment is where the magic happens. All of it happens right now, right here, not in the future. Because if we are living only in the future, then we're in the rat race or in the hamster wheel. Later, later, later.
Mhm.
What about right now? What can I give myself right here, right now? What is it that I need that I can give myself that isn't dependent on me receiving an email or being accepted by this, that, or the other?
Mm.
Like you said earlier, your father already admires you, and he always has been proud of you. Put that knowing into your heart, into your energy field, into your self-esteem. There's nothing, there's no other approval you would need from
Mm.
anybody outside of you, because it's already in you,
Mm.
happening as you breathe this breath, this heartbeat, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you said a lot of really nice things. Um, he said so many things. I guess what I'm aware of, what I've been noticing, just is this is a new idea, but this is something that's kind of happened this past week, or really since, it seems like, since the Bhakti Yoga conference ended, now school's coming to an end, and all of this. But I've got my friend Angie on here, and we're both celebrating many years of sobriety, 16 years, and it would never consider that. I have no desire to break that vow. But in these times of low energy, I've been reaching for food, like emotional eating. And again, I'm still vegan, right? I mean, that's just who I am. It's what I enjoy. But like I found myself, just eating things that I normally wouldn't, like French fries, which is, maybe some of you are like, that's not the worst thing in the world. I normally don't eat, French fries, fried oil and all this kind of stuff. But I was just kind of letting myself, whatever people are making, whatever they have, just like indulging. And this is not to say that, these foods are bad, but I know how they make me feel. And I could see myself. It wasn't even about whether the food is good or bad. It's about the emotional relationship I was having, and the kind of the way I was using this food. And so, and I just recognized that. And I haven't been on the scales, but anyways, Sue says French fries are my crack. Yeah, there can be addictive. Um, but I guess I'm just aware how these things fit together, right? It's like this is, I think kind of, I hope it's okay. I say, I'm sure you don't mind, but like when you did lose your husband, at one point you'd reach for cigarettes, right? And so it's like in those challenging moments, that's when it's like reaching for something to comfort ourselves, or something to numb it out, or to distract ourselves. And yeah, I guess I'm just aware of that, and I'm not beating myself up, but I'm aware of it, and I'm excited to get back on track. This is why it doesn't make rational sense to me. I can't wait. Like, I wish tomorrow was done already. I want school over. I want this done. I've had enough. So why am I grieving? Why am I grieving when it's like I can't wait for this to be over? I don't get it.
Mm. Yeah, sometimes we need patience, but like using foods, and in my case, at that time, I needed a cigarette every night. After the kids had gone to bed, I need to go outside and have a cigarette. And I remember thinking of it from outside of myself, like, it was like an urge that I had, and I'm sure it somehow calmed down my nervous system in ways that other things didn't. And looking back, I
This is a commercial for cigarettes. No.
when looking back, it is interesting that it was like a such an urge, and I didn't get addicted because I don't smoke and didn't smoke in that way, but it was a way to calm myself down, or I don't know what it did. But in the same way, what we emotionally eat, like you're someone who would never go out of your way to find French fries. Like I've never seen you order them. It's not like they're not crack for you. But
Mhm.
it may be in those contexts where you were now on vacation, you were being treated by your friends, they would, cook for you and take you out. So they were kind of brought to you, and then it was hard for you to not engage in them. But what's interesting is that how it makes you feel afterwards. Like it's
Mhm.
almost like there's a sense of guilt or not feeling well in your body, or something that comes in the aftermath that doesn't feel so fulfilling.
Well, it's because of how much. It's not so much that it's like there's something inherently wrong with French fries or with trying to think what else we
Treats.
had. Treats. It's honestly, it's how much I consume. Like I know you guys don't believe it because like I'm not really a big guy, but like at Henry's, he made this big huge meal, like four course, appetizers, desserts, like everything. And so four of us had this meal. I mean, during the meal, I ate more than everybody else. After they left, Henry's like, I gotta get rid of this food, like, because I was going to Mars's. He was heading to a wedding for the weekend. He's like, I got all this food. And that's like, I mean, that's like saying to an addict, I gotta get rid of all these drinks and drugs. And I'm like, hello. And after I had already eaten more than enough, I ate, without exaggeration, the equivalent of three more meals. And I can do that. I can sit there. Maybe you've seen it at times, Hannah. I can sit there and eat four times more than is necessary. And I can do it. I did do it. I have done it. And that's like an emotional response. That's like that's like an addiction. That's like I can't say no. But guess what? If that food was not there, I would never even think of it. If I had like right now, so that's why I surround myself with green juice. I got green juice. I got hemp seeds. I love this stuff. This completely satisfies me. And this is what nourishes me on a consistent basis. But just like an addict, when I'm sitting there and I'm given permission, and it's kind of within the boundaries because it's still vegan and it's still sugar free, and when given permission, I go all in, and I can't stop. I sometimes in a couple of cases this past weekend. So that's just like, but I guess I'm more susceptible when I'm in a state like this, when I'm kind of grieving or sad or low energy or depleted, like kind of in this state, then I'm way more susceptible versus like when I'm really, if I'm in the flow and things are good. I don't know. Yeah, that's just the reality. I don't know if others can relate with that. That's how my relationship was with alcohol. You talk about cigarettes. You just have one. Like I couldn't just have one now. If I just like, oh, you know what? This week I'm just gonna have a few smokes. Boom, I'd be right back to half a pack a day when I was drinking. Um, that's just a nature I seem to have, and I don't know if that's a Libra thing, finding balance. Uh, I don't know. I guess I'm just putting it out there. I don't think there's a solution or anything to fix. But I think you've seen it before, Hannah, with me
Mhm.
and food. You've seen it too many times where I eat way more than is I really need to.
Yeah, like it was a joke, right? Like how much peanut butter can you put on a spoon, like a
Yeah.
normal spoon? And um, the the joke was that you can put a whole jar on a spoon. Like, of course,
Mm.
the jar is way bigger than a spoon, and you are very skilled at that. I don't know how to do that. You know how to do that. And we would joke about it. And I don't know if it is a joking matter, but the one thing that I do remember about, like, if we had a treat night, that afterwards it wouldn't negatively impact you. If we had, if we had one smoothie too much, or if you ate too much pizza, then it was sad to me that it turned into something negative, something that kind of started as something that,
A celebration. It was like a
yeah,
celebration, a treat, something to enjoy. That's it. And then you would always like you consistently, Hunter, you would ask me, Jack, are you sure? Are you sure you want another smoothie? Because you don't want to feel bad. I don't want you like feeling down on yourself and beating yourself up. And I would straight up lie to you and say, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure I can handle another smoothie. Yes, please make me another peanut butter smoothie. And I was straight up saying that because I wanted the smoothie, the enjoyment of that, knowing very well I was not going to feel good after.
yeah.
That's
I guess that's maybe a question would be like, if there is kind of like with self-esteem, if there is a sense of never being good enough, or food wise feeling like I'm never satiated enough, that the question would then be, what part of me is it that I'm trying to nourish with this food? What part of me is it that feels that is not good enough ever? Do you know what I mean? What is the urge that has me um, overeat or over identify with accomplishment after accomplishment? Um, it's almost like sometimes I get a little bit defensive on your behalf too. Like sometimes we get emails that I think should not have the right to drain your energy. Like it's not life and death matters, but I know it will, you will give everything a lot of attention.
mm,
And that comes from a good place. But then I feel like it's not fair because it will stress you out, and that might be the question, like where internally for you, maybe to practice now. Let's say you feel that you're tired.
mm.
What is it that you can give yourself today, let's say in this moment after this podcast episode, that would nourish you in the right way, with the samatwam, with the where it doesn't leave you feeling guilty or blaming, so that whatever self-care you engage in is not going to end up having a negative impact because you over engaged in it. Because you have the tendency, even with rest, if you were now to say, everybody said, okay, never mind the graduation and the final papers, you're fine, you're off the hook, you can go rest now, you would go and sleep for 2 weeks. And then you would feel tired. The few hours in the day that you're awake, you wouldn't feel like rested. Do you
If
know
I
what I mean?
if I overslept, yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure. You just said a whole bunch of different things. What was the question? Sorry.
Question is, what can I, if there is a part of you that you could nourish in an appropriate way, say that you're tired right now,
Mm,
a little bit
yeah.
grieving.
And I just gotta say, sometimes it's not a quick fix. Often it's not, as you know. But like I attempted that before this podcast. An hour before, it's like I did a bit of work, did all my morning routines, and I'm noticing like I'm a bit drained and tired. And so I went and laid down here on the conference room floor for 15 minutes. And so I took a 15-minute, I attempted to take a nap. I didn't actually fall asleep, but I at least laid down for 15 minutes. And then I went and did 10 minutes outside. It's a beautiful sunny day. I got shorts, no shirt on, walking out, chanting japa mantra. And that was really nourishing. So like that was really that was really important. and I'm sure helpful to some extent. But I feel like being the space that I'm in and navigating, that wasn't enough to just like, whoa, put me right back into perfect. But I'm sure it was better than if I had just like been working on my laptop the whole time.
Yeah. And I love that you brought that distinction. There's not a quick fix to life. That's why it is
Mm.
a practice. That's why our self-inquiry, our self-care, our inner conversations, they're part of our practice, part of how I practice life, part of how I engage with life is knowing and learning more and more about myself. So I would not like to, like, you don't like identifying as an addict like they do in AA. You don't say you're an alcoholic. Hi, my name is Jack. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Like you never say that. And I think that's great because it works for you. And what you do instead is that you engage in life in ways that have you not overindulge. Like you say, you surround yourself with healthy foods and you don't have 10 bottles of green juice with you. You have one or two or whatever your ratio is that you need for that day.
Yeah. And also, we're just wrapping up here, but I also notice it's tricky. It's almost like, well, as you know, hun, if after like some extended period of time of doing everything so right,
Mm,
living the ashram life, being a good boy, waking up early, doing my spiritual practices, drinking my green juice, it's almost like the longer I do that, even though like the better I feel, and there's, I think studies to say that like, you're more likely to keep it up, and I am. But somehow after periods of like doing it really right, doing it really good, then at least my tendency is sometimes be like, all right, it's time to go off the rails, indulge, and that kind of shows up. But then at least it doesn't continue. Like I did that. Whoa, I did that for a weekend. I notice how I feel. I'm like too much information, but like I'm constipated. I'm tired. I'm like not in a good place. I can't wait to get back to my routine. And I guess maybe that's part of the journey as well. And no matter how many times like eating too much pizza or peanut butter, whatever it is, like it still periodically seems to be necessary to be like, oh yeah, that's why I don't do this every day, and come back to the what works. This is the journey. I don't know that this was called the Happy Jack Yoga Podcast. I don't know if it now should be the Hungry Jack or the what a confused Jack. But thank you for holding the space and being my second therapist is great.
yeah.
Ex-wife slash business partner slash therapist. You wear a lot of hats, Hanna. No,
Well,
I'm teasing.
yeah, I think it's how we navigate life. It's always fascinating to me, and I don't want to assume, and I don't want you to assume like this is who I am. Like that's what I brought up. Like I'm not. You're not. You be always curious about who you are and what you discover, what reveals itself. That's the point of self-inquiry. Is not. I already know. It is being curious. Approach ourselves, our inner lives with curiosity is what we practice, is what
Mm.
yoga is, what reveals itself moment to moment in this breath,
Yeah.
this moment, in this circumstance. It's not always the same. It's not always repeating the same patterns because we constantly evolve and change.
Mm.
So, thank you for being transparent and vulnerable and bringing your whole self to a platform where maybe you would like to show up in a different way, and often you do, but I think it's more valuable and it's braver that you can show your full self, authentic self, not just a curated version of you. That takes courage and curiosity.
Mm. Yeah. I know we're wrapping up. I just want to briefly say about curiosity because Mars shared a video with me, a friend of his. I won't get into the details of it, but anyway, there's this really talented mentalist. And I'm not even going to get into explaining what a mentalist is, but he's got these, special mental powers, let's just say. And I guess he had been approached. People were trying to get him to explain what he does. And apparently a billionaire offered him $1 million on the spot if he would reveal his secrets. And he just wasn't open to share. He's like, this is just who I am. This is what I do. But, he said in the beginning of this interview that I saw, he said, but it was actually when somebody became curious, like actually genuinely curious, then he decided to reveal some of his secrets. So I haven't seen the whole interview, this kind of random example, but it just made me think of curiosity and perhaps the power and the importance of curiosity, versus trying to fix it with money or resources or
Yeah.
power.
Or managing like to-do list and like that. It can be helpful to have structure in our lives, but even then to go to the structure with curiosity, my therapist or my supervisor says, instead of explaining, explore. Notice when you're explaining and notice when you're exploring. There's a huge difference. Exploring entails curiosity, me not knowing, and me learning, me being open to the present moment and the things that reveal themselves to me, that I can either receive or not, that I can learn something from or not. That is our practice. So
Beautiful. Mic
yeah.
drop. Boom. Nice
Curio-
one. Thank you guys. Thank you
Curiosity.
so much. To be continued next week. Hey, who knows what you got in store next week? I think we're gonna. I have a feeling, classes are gonna be done. We'll be back to some high vibes. But thank you all for holding space, being a part of this conversation. Wishing you an amazing rest of the day. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.